Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 4 of TRIGUN STARGAZE, and I'm pretty excited. Yes. So, last 3 episodes have been really good. We found out that Knives is in a little test tube. Has a brain and a spine, so there's that going on. And Vash faced off against Leonoff last episode, and he's now with Wolfwood and Meryl and Millie, so the gang's all here. I really want Vash to keep his long hair. I love long hair Vash, but I feel like we are being greedy. We are being very greedy. The question is, who's going to trim his hair? Is it going to be Jessica? Is it going to be Meryl? Is it going to be Wolfwood? I have my preferences, but I feel like Vash is probably going to get his hair trimmed for the next escapade that we're going to go on. But where we go to from here, I don't really know other than that. Obviously, the people from Earth are coming to supposedly pick up everybody from this planet and take them on their little journey with them. What Knives is going to do about that, I don't know, because we know what happens in Maximum and in the original 1998 series, but we don't really have a lot to go off of as to what they're going to do here. So I'm pretty excited about that. The only comment I want to talk about is from Sunspots with episode 3. They said, great analysis of Emilio and Leonoff. Thank you. I was wondering now whether this will be a pattern where they're reimagining the smaller characters who were interesting, but maybe a little bit more one note, and giving them some additional layers. Look, without getting into the spoiler corner too much, I am 1,000 times for that. There were several characters in the manga, several characters in the 1998 anime where I felt they could have expanded upon them and made them more prominent and talked about them more, but there just wasn't time in the plot and with all the action going on. So the idea that they're going to come back and maybe make these gung-ho gang members and stuff like fully fleshed out. I have preferences of who I'd like to see fleshed out, but we'll see what happens. But that's such an awesome concept, and I kind of love that Stargaze is taking the opportunity to do it. We shall see. But yeah, so I might also be making a small video essay about Stargaze, because I was telling my moderators with episode 3, I'm going to put episode 3 on YouTube and see how it does. But the last couple episodes have just like had not a lot of engagement, which is kind of unusual because it's a new series that's come out. And I've noticed some things online about Stargaze and I'm like, what is happening? So if you're here watching, thanks. I appreciate that. You are seeing great anime as we are, but there's something going on with this series, like production wise and marketing wise, that's interesting to me. And so I may be doing like a short, like when I say short, I think it's going to be short. Y'all know how that goes. A video essay about it to just address it, because it's very fascinating and weird to me. But I'm glad y'all are here commenting and talking about it. You can sound off down below if you've been noticing that the marketing on this series is weird. And the moderator said, you know, yeah, there's like Frieren and Jujutsu Kaisen at the same time. And I'm like, yeah, but this is Trigun. This is like a tried and true like franchise. Like, you know, it's weird that it's not getting more traction in my mind than it is. But we'll talk about that in that video essay. But I just wanted to bring it out. So anyway, I'm super excited that you are here and that you are watching. This episode has no title, so that is curious. I don't know if Crunchyroll is just not on the ball. They might not be, so, or they're just gonna add it later. Sometimes they do that when episode, that's the thing. Sometimes when episodes first come out, it takes them a little while to put an episode in because they're just getting it out for the hype. But like the static OP that we talked about last week, and then the fact they didn't have the proper files, and then the fact that this episode doesn't have a title, but it's been out for over a day. I'm like, are we just not giving the care that Trigun deserves? I don't know. But anyway, we're not going to waste any more time before we dive into this. Thank you all so much for watching with me. I hope you all enjoy the reaction and discussion. But we are going to start TRIGUN STARGAZE episode 4. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's go. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This episode was great. This episode, I was like, all right, we did our first 3 episodes set up, got everything in. Now we're diving into Mid-Valley. I'm so glad I can say Mid-Valley's name now. I'm like, thank God. Mid-Valley and Legato. I would watch a whole toxic yaoi on Mid-Valley and Legato, if I'm being real with y'all. It's so good. It's so good. We need to talk about it. So yeah, I skipped the OP. We need to get into this episode and just, again, my dog was wanting me to throw a toy to him the first part of this episode. I'm glad he kind of calmed down after that, but he'll probably restart it during this discussion here in 3, 2, 1. Of course he is immediately back with the toy, but yeah. So this episode, get past this Stargaze. So, home base. I find it interesting that the doctor is very much like, oh, no, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm like, how the doctor did not think at some point Knives and Alindira was going to target the home base. How he didn't think that was going to happen is, I'm like, what did you think was going to happen, sir? They were going to get all the plants and then be like, okay, I guess we'll leave this mega pile of them just to be. No. I do like... I guess we could talk a little bit about, well, that's maybe more manga spoilers, so we'll get into the manga spoilers at the end, but I like the twist that they've given to the whole situation with Knives. It's interesting. I like the idea that I think it's when we get to the Knives part that I want to talk about that exclusively, but there's a lot of little symbolism that is in this start of this episode. Vash looking the most precious, the most soft. Soft Vash is like my favorite Vash, so I have no complaints with anything with him there. But I did like this part here with the Thomases because when they pan out, and I mean, not only the feathers, because the Thomases are like bird-like, Vash and the plants have like an angelic feather quality to them. But this felt very much like Vash is paying attention to the Thomases who are being used by the humans, and they're being taken care of. Don't get me wrong, they're being treated well, but there is a kind of subservient relationship going on there, right? Where they are held in captivity and they have this coexistent relationship with the humans. That is very akin to the plants. So you're drawing all those inferences, and of course Vash has a knack for wanting to connect with the plants, is connecting with the Thomases in this moment here. So I like that a lot. I think that connection's really well done. Good job, show. Also, Wolfwood, you are not subtle. There are moments in this episode where the show does remind you that Wolfwood is in fact a like mutated adult child. And there are a few moments where it really came out and I was like, okay, that's what we're doing. All right, I like it. But here, based on what we saw from Stampede, but here I like this little reminiscing that the two of them do. I like that Wolfwood puts the Punisher beside him to have a conversation with Vash, which is really good. Of course, there's one moment here that I absolutely adore, but we got this opening here. I want to go back to, I think I took the subtitles off to take the screenshot for there we go. So going back to this, he's like, how many times are you going to thank me already? And he's like, besides, you mean thanks again for my help as always. So Wolfwood's like, I always have to come rescue you. What are you talking about? And Vash is like, what would I do without you? And I'm like, the ship boards itself. The SS Anne already is not coming back. We all know that, but the ship between them is so good. And he asks how Emilio is. So Emilio is unconscious and being held in captivity. I don't know how that's going to play. Here's the thing. Mid-Valley is there. They send him out as the front line to be like, you go test the waters, see how dangerous it is, and then come back and tell us that we're good to go. My question is, I do think Emilio / Leonov at some point is going to help Vash and Wolfwood. I think he will. I think that Vash's kindness is going to be returned. Now, whether Emilio fights Mid-Valley or whether Emilio helps fend off Legato later on, if they decide that Alindir and Legato and them are going to come to the home base, we don't know. But I do think that Leonov is going to assist in keeping that from getting to where Legato and them win. That's what I think. I think that Vash's kindness is going to get paid back, right? And I don't think that Wolfwood and Vash are going to have to work too hard to get Mid-Valley over to their side. Mid-Valley is all about ready to jump ship. He's just kind of stuck there because of, the safety net that Knives has provided, like he did for Leonov, as well as the fact that he's in a toxic yaoi relationship with Legato. But I definitely think there's not going to be a lot of convincing they're going to have to do to convince Mid-Valley to help them. So again, there's two people right there that could help them fend off against Knives. Maybe. We'll see. And then that's when Wolfwood says, the guy tried to kill you, but you're relieved to hear that he's okay. And Vash is one of those people that he's just like, it's fine if I, don't want to wish ill upon people, And this part got me, because he's like, I'm glad to see you haven't changed in the past 2 years. And in that moment, he's like, oh, well, I'm also glad to see you. Like, Vash thought that Wolfwood was jealous. He thought Wolfwood was jealous. He's like, oh, well, I am glad to see you as well. And I love Wolfwood's face here, where he's just like, I'm being sarcastic. Like, their dynamic is chef's kiss. I absolutely adore it. So he's like, you were looking for me. And he's like, here's your gun. I had forgot about the gun. Honestly, he was using that one pistol for the first couple episodes. And I just thought, okay, well, the gun was destroyed with July. So that's that. And Vash will probably get a new gun, because that happened a lot in the manga. It happened a lot. He got some new equipment. But Wolfwood went back and got his gun and gave it to him and took care of it. Now, we're going to talk about, I'm going to go bring up this scene. This scene here where he says, you held on it to all this time, thank you. In the Trigun Maximum Edition, which I wanted to bring up, I've talked about in the spoiler corner, there is a shot of Vash with the gun, and it's that exact same pose. And I have been waiting for it to happen in the series, and it didn't quite happen the way that I intended it, but it still happened, so we're going to take it. We find it on here. I want to locate. It's in literally the first chapter of Maximum is that pose of him with the gun. And it's such a good shot that it needs to be shown for all to see. It's such a dang good shot. Let's go here, because him and Wolfwood team up. Yeah. So literally on like page 32 of Maximum, there's the shot of him with the gun. And I've got the screenshot to show him. It's basically the same expression, the same moment. It's just they've translated it from Maximum to this. So I really liked that. I thought that was well done. But yeah, so Wolfwood is not impressed with Vash. And he's like, next time, you need to use that gun and kill without being hesitant. I'm like, Wolfwood, you know very good and well that Vash is not going to do that. You have to know that Vash is going to be hesitant. He's going to be soft. And that's just Vash. He's like, you caused that disaster by being too soft. And Vash is like, but you know what? It probably was going to happen anyway. He's like, I know I made a mistake and I caused a disaster. Maybe it wouldn't have happened the same way, but he's like, I can't compromise my principles like that. He's like, if Nye is alive, then I'll stop him for sure this time. But I'm not going to kill anyone. And Wolfwood's like, you're missing the point. I do love their banter back and forth about the morality of having the power to stop someone and whether killing someone is the answer to the question. But again, I think that by not killing Emilio, it's going to in part answer Vash's question of, but look, Emilio helped us later on because of our kindness. And if we'd killed him, we wouldn't have had that person helping us. I don't know. Or maybe Wolfwood would be put right. Now, when he said someone has to bring the fangs, I was like, Livio? I was like, Livio, maybe? We haven't seen him in a while. Maybe. I don't know. Otherwise, someone pays in tears. So then these two show up. Now, to be fair, he's like, we're in the middle of something. Stay out of it, girls. He's like, we were about to make out and you just walked right in. To be fair, I could understand if somebody was bummed that Millie and Meryl came to interrupt them, because I'm such a fan of Vash and Wolfwood's conversations. I could listen to them banter back and forth for hours, but I love this. And they're like, don't mind us. I also love, if you've read the manga, Millie and Wolfwood, they have a great relationship. They're great. I wish we could have seen them go and wash dishes together. I would pay money to see that little extra. But Meryl and Wolfwood have an interesting relationship in all three of the mediums. So it's cool to see that she's just kind of like, no, we're going to do this. This scene here where they're doing the interview, they're like, what have you been up to the past 2.5 years? They're like breaking up the mood and like, another question then, what's your favorite food? And he's like, what kind of question is that? I like that Wolfwood's like, ladies, he's like, girls, that is enough. And they're like, now give us a reaction to this dramatic reunion. He's like, well, I never doubted for a second. That moment there, I can see some people thinking that moment and when they do the little pose is really cheesy. But this was one of the moments where I was like, in Stampede and thus in Stargaze, it is canon that Wolfwood is actually a kid. I mean, he's an older kid. He's a teenager, but he's been like aged up through this mutations to be an older person, right? So there is a little bit of him that's still that kid that's stuck inside there. And there's little moments throughout this episode where it comes out. And this is one of them where you're like, oh yeah, Wolfwood's actually still kind of a kid. It's fair. And he's like, what are you talking about? I love that he instantly realized he's been played. It's great. And then they take the picture. They do the promo basically for the trailer, you know, as they do, get the media shot. And then he ends up saying, fine, do whatever you want. I think he realizes that talking to Vash is not going to get him anywhere. And she's like, what have you been up to? So I like this basically establishing that Vash is going to tell the ladies what he's been doing the last 2.5 years to get everybody up to speed. Meanwhile, in this floating fortress in the sky, Knives has been making some developments. The deviation from the simulations is within 2%, give or take. What's 2%? 2%? What could go wrong with 2% variation? I mean, this is fascinating. This is to me like the heart of the whole episode is bringing Knives back to life. I was wondering when he was a brain and just the nervous system, I'm like, how are they going to do this in a relatively, you know, heightened and sped up amount of time? The answer is we're going to use the plants. And I'm like, oh, now, will Knives have a major reaction to the fact that the plants he's trying to save, his brethren, are being sacrificed to bring him back to life and the survivor's guilt that's going to come along with that? I mean, possibly. So we're going to talk more in the spoiler corner about that because I have a lot to say about that in the spoiler corner, but I find this fascinating. I think this is crazy. Bringing him back with the plants is wild. I love it. And of course, the Doctor and Legato to graft him with the plants to resurrect them. I like Alindira's like, he could kill us all. Alindira is so interesting. I want to talk about her in the spoiler corner as well, but she's so fascinating in this too. And then the Doctor's like, you know, he could just kill us all. And she's like, won't it be fun to just see what happens? Alindira's not worried because she's a plant. She's part plant. She don't care. Legato has a damn death wish, so he doesn't care. And also Legato, that damn waist, them shoulder, that jacket compensating. I like the Doctor at least says sorry about this, which is interesting. I'm like, is he sorry? Is he sorry? But and he's like, we gotta just do this. They drain the plant to grow part of him back. It's crazy. I love it. I like that it is a justifiable explanation of why he heals so fast, because they're plants and this is what we do. I think that that's fair. I think it's legit. I like the twist of it. I also love the way Legato looks in this moment where he is like just so full of glee. He's like, I wonder what, does he dream of electric sheep? Legato, does he dream of electric sheep? I guess we'll find out. And I like Mid-Valley's like, who knows? Give me a Mid-Valley Legato spinoff right now. Because look, do I believe Mid-Valley joined the Gung Ho Gang so he could get a piece of Legato Blue Summer ass? Yes, you are very well thinking right. I'm sure he did. Was he immediately disappointed when he found out that the gay crush of his life is in love with a sentient plant? I'm assuming yes. This is like, the fan fiction writes itself. AO3, y'all must be going to buzz because I hope you are. The fan fiction writes itself of Mid-Valley having this jealousy towards Legato and his worship of Knives, and Mid-Valley wants to bring him down because he's jealous but also realizes the threat that Knives is, but he's also too scared and knows his powerlessness. It just writes itself. It writes itself. I'm obsessed. I love this so much. Also, you can't tell me they're not into each other. They literally have the same bangs, but flipped on different sides. And there ain't a heterosexual bone in Legato's body. Let's just put it that way. So he's a being. I like that Mid-Valley is trying to be like, you're in love with a being from a higher dimension, a monster. And Legato's like, I am in fact a monster fucker, and I'm okay with that. Like, yeah. There's no way we could understand. He tries to like separate himself from Knives. Meanwhile, while Mid-Valley and Legato are having this moment, I really liked the background, like the memories that Knives is sorting through, where he has the memories of Vash coming down and playing piano with him. And then we see Tesla playing the same piano. And of course, Tesla has the mole down there. I also like the idea that Knives sees himself as Tesla, which we've talked about Tesla in the spoiler corner for the manga, but she is, as we find out here, she is the plant that was ripped apart by the humans in experimentation, which there is one aspect of this that I'm like, oh, that adds even more of a sinister layer, because we'll talk about in the spoiler corner just a wee bit more, but the fact that Rim is involved makes this interesting, and we'll talk about it there. But I find it fascinating that Knives, also the beverage being orange juice for Studio Orange, gotcha, having their birthday cake next to an Egg McMuffin. I also, Knives being the most sad, but then it's like the same thing with Tesla, only with one cup. This part was really creepy here, where it's Tesla having the same birthday as Knives and Vash. That's crazy. That's crazy. It adds to, because Vash doesn't know this, so for Vash, he doesn't understand the kind of horrific element that Knives sees, where he's like, they were doing the same thing to us as they did to Tesla, and we could have been chopped up the same way that Tesla was. Now, whether they were or not, because Rim's involvement, and did they learn their lesson the first time? We don't know, but Knives is traumatized to the point where he thinks this is going to happen again, and this is how he views humans based on how they treated Tesla, right? I do think adding Rim to the equation is interesting. Like I said, we'll talk about in the spoiler corner, but Rim being a parent to Tesla as well as Vash in that capacity is crazy. Now, I do want to talk about something with the visuals of her being taken away by the people there. And it's done very, like, almost abstract at this point. And we don't actually get to see the harm, but then we do at the end. They cut to her in the tubes. And that's when Knives' reaction is very on point, very on brand. And then immediately the whole help me and his, like, hand grips. I love it. I love it. I love it, y'all. Yes. So anyway, the grafting was a success. I like the idea that every time he absorbs a plant, it like brings part of those memories back. So Elendira is like, we're going to need a lot more plants. And Legato's like, let's go Mid-Valley. And Elendira, she's so creepy in this moment. I absolutely love her. This shot here where she's like, let me guess. Like Again, we'll talk about it in the spoiler corner, but that's such a creepy shot. And I love how her voice deepens. She's like, go ahead and try it. Like, I just, it's so good. I have many things to talk about in the spoiler corner, so we're gonna get through it. But she tries to convince him, go ahead, try to kill him. This might be the only shot that you get. And he can't do it. He tries to aim at the tube to knock it out, but he gets unnerved. Like, I was waiting for Knives' eye to shoot up and look at somebody, and then it looks at him, and he gets too freaked out. Also, what a sweet saxophone. Love it. She's like, you can't kill him even when he's this state. My favorite shot of the whole episode is probably this moment here, where Mid-Valley looks over, and Legato is so pissed. He's like, I thought I said we're going. Were you trying to hurt him? What are we doing? Like, there is some toxic yaoi right here. And I am like, the potential. I need somebody to be cosplaying as Mid-Valley at an anime convention playing the saxophone. All you saxophone playing nerds, I need you to cosplay as Mid-Valley. I need to go to a convention and hear from across the lawn a saxophone playing. I will tip you. I love it. Also, there's something kind of cute about when Elendira walks back to the tube and she just like, she gets up next to it and then just puts her little hands up, like looking up, like, are you coming back soon? Like, there's just something about how fascinated she is about Knives coming back that is, again, she's part plant, so, or a plant, so of course she is. Now, this part here, we're like, oh, we have kids coming soon. He's like, oh, don't worry. We'll make sure you see him in the afterlife. I love this because if you aren't aware, we'll talk about it in the spoiler corner, but Legato is telepathic. Legato has telepathy, has telekinetic. I guess it's telekinesis. He can't read minds, but he has telekinetic powers. He can make people move. He can control them like puppets, kind of. It's a different form of like than what Leonov did. But I was gonna comment, and Mid-Valley watches him do it along with the other guy. They watch him do it. He kind of looks away in that moment like he doesn't like it, but we're going to talk about this in a hot second. I was going to say that one criticism I'm sure that this series is getting, God, Legato's just having the time of his life. He's like, as he's pushing them all into the tankard. One comment that I thought was going to be noted and talk about in this is that this series, Stampede included, Stampede and Stargaze, are not as violent necessarily as Maximum. Maximum's bloody. Maximum's like 80% blood, like all over the place. There's just blood going everywhere. It's like a damn vampire novel up in here. And Trigun's always been about that because it's kind of the contrast of all this violence and blood and destruction, and Vash is this beacon of light of, no, I don't want to do that in response, right? So it creates this really great contrast. I could see people having issues with Stampede and Stargaze being kind of more, I don't want to say family friendly, but it is like more family friendly. Like, oh, your kids can watch this show. Don't worry. Your kids aren't going to be grossed out. They can watch this and get the idea. And so when he was putting him in the tankard, I was starting to get a little bit like, oh no, oh, we're not going to show any blood because we're just going to give the idea, which honestly, the idea of him packing a tankard full of human bodies is pretty creepy and gross in itself. Your imagination can do all it needs to. But then this happens. He's like, anything is possible. But naturally, they'll still have the ability to feel pain. Like, them scrunching into this tankard, at first I was like, then you see this big splosh of blood, and I'm like, oh, we are going to show blood. Okay. And then you see the lid close, and then he, like, uses his powers to open up the drain, and all this blood pours out of the gas cap. And Mid-Valley's like, that's not very Paragon. And he's like, renegade for life. So at that point, I'm like, okay, that was a creepy, disgusting kill. That was something straight out of Saw. I'm all for it because it's being tasteful, but also like getting across that Legato is a very bad person. But what is interesting is he's like, the hell I want you to experience is even more exquisite. Isn't that right, Vash the Stampede? So they go to retrieve the plant, and this guy that was left was going to shoot at, we don't know if he was going to shoot Mid-Valley. We don't know if he was going to shoot Legato. We don't know if he was going to shoot the giant guy. But he aims, and then Mid-Valley plays that damn saxophone. Legato don't even look back. And it just slices his head off. They saved the grisliest part for Mid-Valley. They got all them people scrunched in the tank, and it was disgusting. They let that be gory and graphic. They didn't make that gory and graphic. They were just like, look how creepy and gross this is. And then they let Mid-Valley have the gory death. And I was like, oh, buddy. And then this part here, where Mid-Valley, where he stops there, and after he's killed the guy, he like puts it down. I love that close-up of him the reed. And then Legato's just like, that's my toxic boyfriend. Get it. And he basically says there, we're all birds of a feather after all. Legato and Mid-Valley are becoming the toxic Vashwood. Yes. Blue Valley, I call them Blue Valley. Blue Valley is becoming the horn freak and Legato. Blue Valley is basically the toxic Vashwood. They are, because you have someone that is like Legato saying the world is horrible and cruel, so you have to be horrible and cruel right back, is essentially the argument that Wolfwood's been trying to make to Vash, being like, these people are trying to hurt you. You got to fight Vash back and not be soft. And instead of Vash, who responds being like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep trying to do the right thing. Mid-Valley just goes along with what Legato puts out because he's like, I don't see any other way. It's literally toxic Vashwood. and I'm kind of all here for it. From order to chaos. Crunchyroll, you need to get on to putting the episode title on here. From order to chaos. Also, want to make note, I don't know what this whole, like, the intermission card is very weird in this episode. This device for cracking eggs is crazy. Also, these giant Thomas eggs. My thing is, people in the world, the only thing out of this episode that I was kind of like, about is that people in the episode, they have Thomases that they use to travel from place to place. Why would making omelet rice be difficult? I guess it would growing the rice. Growing the rice would be the hard part. You can make an omelet. Because I'm like, you can make an omelet. They have Thomases all over the place. Surely you can get some eggs, but it's the rice part of it. I thought this was adorable with Jessica and Brad making everybody's meals. That was super cute. I thought that was great. And then I like that they get to explore the home part, like the flowers and everything, like with what Rim had experienced with Vash when they were kids. I like the callback to this. And of course, Wolfwood's like, well, I don't like the smell. It's gooey or raw or something. I love Wolfwood complaining about this and them noting the flowers. So yeah. And then Vash recalls when Rim showed him and Knives the same thing. I do like how Stampede and Stargaze make Vash's memories of Rim kind of bittersweet. I like that aspect too. This was also adorable. Again, reminding you that Wolfwood is in fact a young man in an old man's body or a grown man's body. He takes the omelet rice that's supposed to be Vash's to eat for himself. Very, very kid-coded. Look at you, Wolfwood. And he takes it from Jessica, which is funny. So yeah, and then I thought it was interesting how everybody's eating the rice together. Like you see, like Brad's sitting off a little bit because he's too cool for school, but Jessica and all them are eating together. And then you get to Wolfwood, who's all by himself with his back turned to everybody. Because of course he is. Of course he is. Saying the world is full of shit that you don't know. And it's like, what's your language, Wolfwood? Trying to learn it all is impossible. I like that he's just so set in his ways and disgruntled. The Care Bear stare has not reached him fully yet. But Vash is like, it's okay. He's like, I've been on the... I like that Wolfwood's saying this to a 150-year-old space alien. Like, let's be so for real. Vash knows that all too well. And Meryl's like, well, it's the desire to learn that's what's important, Mr. Wolfwood. That's the point. But at least he, gives the plate back to Jessica. He's like, I guess having lots of... Now, he tries to be a little bit poking at the home base, saying that they are a little bit snooty by saying, I guess having lots of plants means that you get to eat nice food like the omelet rice all the time. He tries to poke at the home base, saying hey, everybody else around the planet are struggling and you guys are out here having your... He tries to make it seem like the home base is elitist, but I'm glad that Luita shows up to kind of clock his shit and say, actually, no, you guys got the omelet rice. Nobody else really did. This was just to welcome you and the fact that you saved us. So yeah, no. I like that Luita kind of cuts that off at the root, saying, no. And I like that Wolfwood apologizes. And she's like, well, I need to apologize to you all because I lied about Vash being alive. And they're like, oh no, we're all fine and dandy. I was waiting for Wolfwood to make a connection with the kids running around and his own orphanage, being like he wishes that his orphanage kids could have the omelet rice. And you could tell that that's exactly what he wants. I mean, come on. Now, they do mention that, the people from Earth are supposed to come in 6 months and they might take everybody away, and then there's that possibility. But that's when they bring up, okay, about that Vash. Are you sure Emilio was manipulated by Knives? Well, yes. I believe that that's pretty interesting and to note. I doubt Knives will sit by and watch. Oh, hell no. No. There must be plants aboard the colony fleet as well. Knives is probably going to target them. That is absolutely correct. What a predicament. So, he's like... So I like that Wolfwood and Millie go off to do the dishes. I would pay a lot to see that. And then Luita's like, we have to stop Knives no matter what. And Vash is like, yeah, but do we have to kill him? He's like, I really don't want to do that. And Meryl's like, okay, we'll do with what we can. It's going to be a hard task, but we can get it done. And Brad's like, here, we're going to help fix up your arm before we go any further. And then we cut back to Knives' progress. That's crazy. As all the muscles and stuff are starting to come back on him. That's the fact that the grafting has like worked to that level. So the doctor's like, before we get into this calculations, I just want to point out that hand on that hip legato. I mean, our boy, he could not, him and another character from Jujutsu Kaisen would make a great crossover. So Elendira is not having this, we're taking our time to bring Knives back. She's like, no. She's like, what about the plants on ship 3? What if we go to home base and get those plants? She's like, why not? And the she's like, why don't we take all of them? I love how she says it with such a sincere look on her face. Like, what's stopping us? Like, why are we beating around the bush? I love her little fangs. They're so great. They make her look like a vampire. She's like, it would save us lots of time. I feel like she's going to bite that doctor's neck. I feel like she's going to go all vampire on him. And he's like, well, the ship has defenses. There would be a chance that we would get defeated anyway. Oh, we can't possibly do that. And that's when Legato was like, Mid-Valley, you're just a side hustle. Go check it out. Go check it out and see how it goes. And Mid-Valley's like, great, thanks. A tip from the self-centered puppeteer. Oof. You go and capture him. Now, Mid-Valley's like, oh, I shouldn't kill him. And they were like, no. No, if you kill him, Knives will kill us. Like, we don't want that. No, that's the whole point. You need to brag. Of course they need Knives to awaken Vash. Of course. They need Vash to awaken Knives. Of course they do. Sure. And Elendira's like, kill it. Well, Legato says killing him wouldn't be any fun. I'm sure Elendira thinks the same. Legato wants him to suffer, which is very on brand with the rest of the versions of him. He just wants him to make sure, he's like, he will learn the true nature of humans. I love the voice acting in this scene that he's been desperately trying to be saved by. Also, I love that he has this big dramatic monologue, and at the very end of it, look at Elendira. She's like, no. Elendira's like, he's monologuing. Look at him. And the doctor's like, oh my God. Like, so eccentric. He's like, you have to bring Vash to Stampede to Lord Knives. And Mid-Valley's like, I'm too old for this shit. Speaking of which, I want to point out, if you had forgotten, Legato Blue Summers is voiced by Koki Uchiyama. Koiki Uchiyama has voiced Shigaraki from My Hero Academia. He has voiced other such characters you might have seen from Demon Hunter. He's also voiced, I'm trying to get to one of my favorites. I want to make sure that I get it right. He has also voiced, God, this man has voiced so many characters. He was also Sugi in Windbreaker. He's Inumaki in Jujutsu Kaisen. He's been a character in Delicious in Dungeon. He's also been other than Shigaraki. What is the main one? I want to get it right because sometimes I get the voice actors wrong. He's done so many iconic voices, but one of the others, he also was Kaji Jr. in the Rebuilds, which is crazy. He's Suki, isn't he? Is he not Suki? I feel like he's Suki from Tsukiyama from Haikyuu. Oh, and he does Kirishima Ikuya from Free, as you know, and Yuri from Yuri on Ice, Yuri Pletsky. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he's Suki from Haikyuu. Almost guarantee. Yeah. Oh, he's also Soul Evans from Soul Eater. That, I forgot he was Soul Evans' voice as well. Wild. But yeah, I mean, he's done so many voices. He does such a good job at being like a kind of antagonistic character, which is fun. And then Mid-Valley, the Horn Freak, is voiced by Shinichiro Miki, who else does he voice? Oh, he's Night Eye from My Hero Academia. Shigaraki and Night Eye? What? He's that? Who else has he voiced? Other than Night Eye. He has also played, he's been Urahara in Bleach in the Rebirth of Souls. Nice. Has he been anything else recently that I would have known of? He's been in a lot too. He has such a good voice. I loved his voice in there. Oh, he's Kusakabe from Jujutsu Kaisen. Inumaki and Kusakabe. Look at them. Nice. Awesome. Love that. Love that to pieces. Anyone else I want to point out? I'll just do one more. Oh, he has played Roy Mustang. Has he been Roy Mustang from the start? That would be pretty awesome. If he... Oh, he's also been James in Pokemon. Okay, cool. Nice. Anyway, he's done a lot of voices. He does great as Mid-Valley. I was waiting to see who they're going to get him to voice, and I'm like, yes, please. Love it. So, yeah. And then this part here, I'm sorry, but whenever Legato gets up in his face, they both have the same bangs! Like, such boyfriend coded. He's like, you can run if you want. Oh, I love it. I'm like, toxic boyfriends indeed. Toxic boyfriends indeed. Oh my God, I live. Bring on the fan fictions. I'm ready. And then he does his little saxophone solo on the roof. The OST I'm buying as soon as I can. I'm going to go on CD Japan and see if they have the soundtrack. I freaking love it. I love the soundtrack of this series so much. It's so great. So meanwhile, we get our naked torso shot of Vash. Our poor boy has been through a lot. Like all those scars and everything. I am glad that Jessica cuts his hair. Also, you can see his little cape there draped on the side there. I like Meryl's with him. And I like that they get him a new coat. He needed it. Also, they just gave him the glasses. They're like, we fixed up your gun and gave you a new pair of glasses because you're out in the desert. Why wouldn't you need a new pair of glasses? Cute. I like that she had the little patch to give him. I'm assuming that the patch, she says it's like JSC. Is it Jessica Seed Corp? Jessica Seed Company? Is that what it is? Maybe. It's really cute. If anything happens to Jessica and that patch gets like blood or something on it, I will be mad. So don't do that. Don't do that. But yeah, so they're going to cut it. Millie recommending a mohawk is amazing. Wolfwood's like, just buzz it all off. Just shave it all off. I don't know. What was she recommending? He's like, I don't need that much of a change. A ducktail. What the heck is a ducktail? What is a ducktail haircut? Oh! So he basically would look like a delinquent. He'd have like the ducktail in the back. Okay. You know what? Meryl might have something going on there. I like that. She likes her guys dapper. And he's like, do you want it like it was before? And he's like, no, I'm going to have the style. Again, all that black hair. It makes me nervous. But yeah, he wants it kind of like it was back in episode 12 when he looks more like himself, more like the Vash that we know. Now, he notices the black hair coming through. I'm like, how could you not notice? Because it's clearly more than before. And showing his determination. I don't know. And then we have the saxophone. And of course, Wolfwood knows that it's Mid-Valley. And Vash, his arm is not completely restored. So Wolfwood has offered to go take care of it. I like that they call him Undertaker in this. Rather than just Wolfwood, they call him the Undertaker. It's a nice little nod to the manga and to the series. I like it. And to his role. So, okay. Anyway, this episode was great. I have quite a bit with the spoiler corner that I want to go back and talk about. So, there's that. But if you all are sticking around for the spoiler corner, then I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. But if you are not sticking around for the spoiler corner, then I hope you enjoyed this reaction discussion. I really enjoyed this episode. It was, I always have loved Mid-Valley. Mid-Valley is one of my favorite side characters. So getting to see him like not only have a more prominent role in the anime is a lot of fun. In the 98 anime, not spoilers, but the 98 anime, he's there, but he doesn't get as much screen time as I would have liked. He was one of those characters I'm like, oh, I want to see a lot more of him. And then in Maximum, we see a lot more of him. So I'm glad that Stargaze is giving us that as well. So anyway, I'm going to do the spoiler corner. So if you're not sticking around for that, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back real soon with more of Trigun. The only thing is I had saw there was like one of those questions that pops up on YouTube now on the search engine. Now, this probably does not mean anything, but somebody had said that this is meant to be like the final like arc or the final arc of the Stampede franchise. They're not doing like a third season, which makes me sad because my only issue is we're 4 episodes in. We're a third of the way through the season. And not only are the colony ships not here yet, they're not supposed to be here for another 6 months. But on top of that, you have Knives not fully back to form yet. He's getting close. But then you also have to, I'm trying to wrap my mind around how in 8 episodes, they're going to have the colony ships come, Knives back to full health, Mid-Valley and Legato and the other guy taken care of, Alindira taken care of, the Doctor taken care of, Knives battling the colony ships, the whole thing with Kronos if we get that, the whole resolution with Tesla, Vash and his brother colliding, Wolfwood, whatever happened. It seems like too much to get done in 8 episodes, especially at the pace that we're going. I don't mind the pace. I like the pace. I like that we're letting everything soak and marinate, and I'm fine with that, but I don't know how I feel about you thinking in 8 episodes, we're going to wrap up all of these events that clearly would need this season and one more 12-episode season probably to fully flesh out. And that's not even talking about Livio. We haven't gotten to Livio. So I'm just like, there's so much that Maximum covers that is related to the ships coming and everything. There's so much that covers that I don't want this series to rush it and then it not be as good as it could be, where I'm like, you could have one more series after this to cover everything else and resolve it. So I hope that's not the case. I hope that they do power through and do another series, but I don't know. I don't know how. That's the only thing that I get nervous about is I don't want them to rush it, especially with as slow as they've gone for this. Because you spent 3 episodes getting Vash back to this, and now we're just going to cut straight into it. I don't know. Anyway, so again, I like the idea in Maximum. I don't think Wolfwood wasn't a kid so much as he had just been trained to be Wolfwood and had the experiments on him and everything, but he was a full-grown adult throughout Maximum. Here, the fact that he's like a kid that's been kind of aged up through experiments, I'm like, that comes out more with Wolfwood in this series, and I like it. It works for his character really well, and how like over the top he can be sometimes. I like it. I would love more Wolfwood and Millie moments. I hope that the series gives us that. Also, this shot of Vash just laughing where he's like, ha ha ha, everything's going great. And there's all the feathers from the Thomases. And then we cut to that, to Knives in the tank, like getting slowly put back together. It is crazy. It is crazy. So I actually honestly love everything about this choice to make Vash be resurrected by absorbing the plants. That's crazy. I love that because in the manga, he just starts fusing with all the plants. He's like, I'm bringing all the plants back. He basically tries to create this Borg hive mind of him and the plants being like, we're all going to have this world together. And it's kind of like End of Evangelion. He's like, we'll all just be in this primordial soup together and it'll be our utopia and all of that. And I'm like, ah. So I really love the concept that we're doing that absorption or fusion with the plants, but it starts kind of without Knives' permission, without consent of him being reconstructed with the plants. I also love the parallel of Tesla was pulled apart to do experiments and Knives is fused back together. Like Tesla was ripped apart, Knives is created. And it's like, and again, without consent. So Knives is going to be super pissed when he's like, what do you mean you killed all these plants to bring me back? And it's like, Now, I also wonder if, since Knives is created by grafting the plants into his body to recreate him, if that is going to allow him to like do what he does in Maximum and use the plant's power and kind of be OP. I don't know. I don't know how we're going to do that. I don't know how we're going to do that, but I like this twist. I like the fact that he's gaining all these plants and they're helping reconstruct his body. I don't know if we're going to get Kronos in the series or not. Again, I feel like there's just not enough time to get to her. So I don't know what we're going to do. I am obsessed with Mid-Valley's design and him in this. I love it. I love it 100%. I also like that because Mid-Valley is more like he is in Maximum. In the 98 anime, Mid-Valley is kind of just Legato's accomplice, and he doesn't have much of a speaking part. He's just kind of a badass bad guy, but he doesn't have much to do. And then in Maximum, there is a whole storyline. But the thing that's crazy is that Mid-Valley in the 98 anime, I was like, oh, I'm shipping him and Legato. And then I got to Maximum and I'm like, oh no, Mid-Valley does not like Legato. Mid-Valley doesn't like him at all. He's just trying to take advantage of the system so he can like work with it later on for his own advantages. And here, it's kind of like they've blended the 98 version and Maximum together, where Legato and Mid-Valley are close, but they're only close out of convenience. And it's a toxic yaoi. I freaking love it. I love it. And I like that Legato, I'm glad they've kept Legato and his worship of knives in this, because that's such a big thing in Maximum, is how much Legato is obsessed with knives. It's so good. And meanwhile, Knives does not care. Knives doesn't care. Yeah, so anyway, I love the idea of getting memories back and connecting with Tesla that way. I loved that. I think the fact of having Rim be their parent too is a really crazy twist, because if I'm remembering right, in Maximum, Rim knew of Tesla, but Rim was not close to Tesla. That was kind of the thing. Rim knew of Tesla, but she wasn't aware of the experiments and wasn't aware of them taking her apart. She was kind of not involved in that, but she knew about it. So when she took on Vash and Knives, she had an understanding and she tried to keep that from happening with them. Here, it kind of implicates her more. It implicates her more into what happened with Tesla, honestly. And I wonder if Knives is going to kind of hold Vash accountable with that, being like, you idolize Rim, but here's what she did to Tesla. How do we know she wasn't going to do it with us? And of course, Vash can counter that, but it adds a lot more like gray to the picture and a lot more darkness to it. So that's so interesting to me. I love it. And then I liked the callback we had later where Vash and all them are in this paradise point, but he has a different vibe around it than he was there the last time, or when he was there through Knives' hallucinations at the end of season 1. But yeah, oh, Vash is pissed, or Knives is pissed. He is. Also, I want to talk about Alindira. Alindira is amazing. I freaking love her. Her voice getting so deep. I was like, oh, that was my one thing. I love Alindira in the manga. She is queen. She is amazing. But she's so tall and adult looking in the manga. And I was worried. I was like, how are they going to have her like have that in this? But she has this like, there's a part of her that's like a little kid. And then there's a part of her that's kind of like Zazie. And then there's a part of her that like you hear the adult woman speak and you're like, oh no, it's there. The Alindira is there. She is. I love it. And it's also a nice contrast to Wolfwood, because in the manga, Alindira and Wolfwood fight quite a lot. And then her and Livio. But in this, you have Wolfwood, who looks like a grown-ass man, but actually has the soul of like a teenager. And here she looks like a preteen girl and has the soul of like a 40-year-old woman inside. And it's like, yeah. So I love how she tempts Mid-Valley. She's like, go ahead and try. And she dances away. I love the little childlike innocence that she has around her. And then she's like, give it a try. Go ahead. This will be your only chance you can do it. And as he's about to like blow it, she looks like a little vampire. She's just like, go ahead and try. She's great. I love Alindira. I'm afraid she's going to take them fangs and like vampire bite somebody, which could happen, but I love her. What if, because she's got these little fangs, what if she vampire bites the doctor and like sucks his blood and it makes her like grow up? It makes her like become an adult, like in her appearance. That would be crazy. That'd be kind of cool. Like if she was going to fight Wolfwood and she like drained his blood and it like made her grow. That would be interesting. I don't know. Just with fangs like that, you're like, she's going to bite somebody, isn't she? But yeah, and then that look from Legato, that look when he looks over and Legato was just pissed. They found the perfect voice actor to play Legato, because Shigaraki's voice actor, Suki's voice actor, perfect. Perfect voice actor for him. Amazing. I'm like, yes. It's great. So yeah, these two young men that are just in this toxic relationship. Yeah, the stuff with, I'm glad they show us the telekinetic powers that Legato has, because that's a big part of his character. I don't think we got too much of that in Stampede. I don't remember, but I don't think we got too much of it. But I feel like it's going to show up hopefully more in this season. And then we haven't seen Livio at all lately, so I don't know where he is. But Legato versus Vash. I'm still sad they don't have him in a sarcophagus. I need him in that sarcophagus, damn it. See, you could have the end of the season, Legato getting defeated by Vash and ending up in the sarcophagus before Knives takes over. That would be amazing. Like, that'd be such a great callback. I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but I don't know. I just feel like they cannot, I feel like them trying to fit all the events of Maximum they need to make the rest of this season, even plot-wise, even without any of the fluff, is just like cramming all these men into this tankard. It's just like, it doesn't feel plausible. I don't know how they're planning on doing it. I don't know. But yeah, I do like seeing Mid-Valley's ability. That's pretty awesome. His like the way that he uses his saxophone and blares that like wave of energy, and the fact of how good his hearing is. Oh, yeah, crazy. That's wild. And establishing that he feels like there's no hope. Him and Legato are just, they're doomed to be together as, and you can even tell, like, when he killed the guy, he did it out of defense. Like, he was immediately afraid that guy was going to kill him. The thing is, was he going to shoot at Mid-Valley? Was he going to shoot at Legato? We don't know. But he didn't take a chance. And I like in that moment, Legato's like, okay, good, you're still on our side. Oh, it's crazy. We are birds of a feather after all. Then, speaking of birds of a feather, we get the omelet scene. I do love Jessica. Jessica and Brad are like a cute little, like, a nice little bit of levity in all of this. Along with them, like, eating the omelet rice up on the hill. It's really sweet. But yeah, Vash is like, I know this all seems well and good, but I'm going to have to go stop my brother at some point, aren't I? I don't know. Mid-Valley invading home to go and try to find Vash is interesting. I don't know what it's going to be like with him versus Wolfwood. I loved Wolfwood versus Mid-Valley in the manga, so I'm really excited to see the two of them fight next episode while Vash's arm is getting all taken care of, but we're going to see on that. So yeah, and Alindir is like, let's just take all the plants out of the home base. And then Legato's like, well, Vash is on that ship right now, so let's just send Mid-Valley to go test it out. Yeah, I'm digging what they're doing with Legato right now and what they're doing with Mid-Valley. And then this part here where he gets up in Mid-Valley's face is so good. Oh, it just captures the essence of their relationship really well and expands on it. I live. And then him lamenting his sorrows through his saxophone, right? Because what does he say there? He's like, I could run, but where in this world is there to run? There's such a connection between Mid-Valley and Wolfwood that I'm really excited to see the two of them battle next episode. And since they both have similar philosophies, I'm curious to see how that's going to match up. Is Wolfwood going to take any of Vash's philosophy when talking to Mid-Valley? What is he going to do with that? I'm so curious. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, as I said, Brad's tinkering with his arm. He's got everything back to normal. I'm going to miss long-haired Vash. I am. Long-haired Vash was so good, but what can we do? I do like this look on Vash. I do like the undercut with the spikes. I like it better than Stampede's look. He noticed the black hair. He noticed it. I'm like, you gonna talk about that? But I don't even know if Vash knows what it is. So I feel like that's gonna have to come up, but I don't know. Anyway, I don't know how they're squeezing this all into 8 more episodes. I really don't. I hope that we just get to a point. I feel like we just need to get to the point where the colonies come at the end of the season, and then we have a season that's Knives and Vash and all of them versus each other like Maximum, but I don't know if what they're going to do is going to be the case there. I don't know. And also, I'm like, my fear is that they have a new studio doing this season. My fear is that it's not getting the exposure that it needs, and that lack of exposure is going to like come across as nobody cares, and then they won't go through with it, and I'm gonna be mad. So what I'm trying to say is please go support people that are doing reactions on this series, and that way hopefully those numbers will come in. So I need to do a video about it because it's been bugging me a lot, because Trigun is such a great property. Why are people not paying attention to it? It's just mind-boggling to me. Like, what? So anyway, that's what I got for the spoiler corner. I hope you all enjoyed this video, this reaction, this discussion. I am excited for episode 5. It's going to be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back very soon with more of Trigun Stargaze. Bye.